Council meeting for January 22nd, 2019 to order. Madam Clerk, would you take the roll?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember David Fuller.
Here.
Councilmember Sabrina Combs.
Here.
Councilmember Linda Combs.
Here.
Councilmember Steve Carrington.
Here.
Councilmember Julie Burberry.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Pete LaFrance is absent tonight. Mayor Edna DeVries.
Here.
Not all members. We have a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And if you all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Julie, would you lead us in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda, but before we do that, is there any objections to excusing Deputy Mayor from the council meeting? Okay, alrighty, Madam Clerk, you'll note that, thank you.
Noted, thank you.
Okay, so the next item is the approval of the agenda. And we don't have any consent agenda this evening, but we do have the approval of the minutes of November 27th and December 11th, both of 2018. What is the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as presented. Any comments, amendments, discussion? Hearing then, and Madam Clerk, I guess we take roll call, right?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember David Fuller.
Yes.
Councilmember Sabrina Combs.
Yes.
Councilmember Linda Combs.
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Carrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Julie Burberry.
Yes.
Mayor Edna DeVries.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is the city manager's report. Sir, do you have a?
No written report tonight. Verbal one.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see
See,
anything written.
this isn't gonna be a short meeting. I love to hear myself talk in a microphone. So the, couple of things that aren't in your packet that are on the table. One is a brochure for a Ventrac. And the reason I have that on the table tonight is last week was the Livable Communities. Well attended, lots of great ideas. Hopefully the community will come forth with what they support. Following that, though, I was interviewed, actually during that, I was interviewed by Alaska Public Media for Alaska Insights, which was aired Friday, on what they originally billed as Alaska Cities, but it was really just Palmer. And then it kind of was a lead-in, after it was all said and done and edited, it was a lead-in to their Alaska Insights on livable communities. But it was really focused on one issue. The question is for me, where one issue was on sidewalk and snow removal for accessibility and walkability, which ties into livability. And the question that was posed towards the end was, well, as city manager and the administration, do you feel that you're doing a good job with sidewalks? And my response was, have I been given unlimited resources? No, we're doing a poor job. But given the resources that we have with the roads crew of 4 folks, and the road graders and the snow blowers, I think we're doing a great job. And that's what our community has lined up in years past. That's how we get to where we are, with the resources that we have and how we maintain our city streets and sidewalks. We clean up a lot of things in special areas for folks that need to have access, that may not have full functioning capabilities. But we don't have specialized equipment. And we've talked about it before, and one of the biggest factor behind not doing this was the equipment was either too large or too expensive. And when I say expensive, 6 figures. Anchorage has a machine. It's an articulated machine that we've looked at several times. But it's too wide for our sidewalks. Some of our sidewalks are 48 inches or less. That machine's $100,000 used, but just wouldn't work for Palmer. What you have on the table is a brochure for a piece of equipment that's now available. There's actually one in Alaska that's being used in Anchorage by a private company, but all indications are it works very well for sidewalks. It's 34 inches wide, the path it makes. The price is reasonable, I think. So if the council and the community wants to pursue sidewalks, this would be our first step to have specialized equipment. You can see the picture. It's a one-man operation. The different phases of it, we've had issues this year because of weather, the freeze, thaw, rain, snow. Even if we had this machine, our sidewalks would still be frozen in places, just because of the way the drainage goes. A lot of our sidewalks are iced over because it melts from the right of way onto the sidewalks. Same thing with our streets. And our streets aren't cleared to the bare surface. So if council would like to give me direction to pursue this, we can do that. It's $27,000 for the full setup with the attachments. We have 15,000 currently in our equipment budget after the roads grader. And I could bring action forward next meeting that would appropriate additional funding to do this if that's the council's desire to pursue it in the future. So that's what brings this to this table.
Is there any objection from the council for him to bring forth? Okay, thank you. Thank you for being proactive.
And there's other items that I've been working on, but I will let the mayor bring those up when it's your turn.
Okay.
Unless there's any further questions of me.
Any questions, comments? Yes, Councilwoman Linda Combs?
I'd like to say that, I support the city manager's position that, City of Palmer does a decent job with what they have. We've had various years, many years ago, gosh, I can't even remember how many now, but we did at one time have something similar, and that wasn't a year that the snow was as big a factor, but boy, the sidewalks were, in pretty good shape. We've had, various times where it's, citizens, business owners and, private citizens, working with the city to keep them clear. And then all of a sudden, it's, the attitude is it's just the city's deal. So we've worked with whatever we've had, money-wise, people-wise, equipment-wise, whatever. And in general, overall, I think it's been about the best you can. Because one thing you can't predict is exactly what you just talked about, Mr. Wallace, is the weather. We can't predict what kind of winter we're gonna have. Is it gonna be snowy? Is it gonna be snowy, icy? Is it gonna be the banana belt? What is it gonna be? And you're not a Chachaco, you know that. So I want to say that I appreciate the way that you responded because I think you're right on.
Just over the course of time, how we've maintained our streets, up until recently, we haven't really, maybe it's my fault, we haven't hauled off as much snow as we have. But the reason we're hauling off snow so much is just the evolution of time. We used to plow the roads, and the snow would go to the sides, and you'd have a big berm, and you'd have to climb over to get to the sidewalk or the street front or whatever the case may be. So we put resources into getting rid of that berm that you have to step over. So that's why we have to haul snow off, because we don't want that berm between the road and the sidewalk. So this is just, again, the evolution of how we maintain our infrastructure. This isn't gonna be the end-all be-all. I can't guarantee you that next year, if we have this machine, that our sidewalk's gonna be bare surface. But we're using a John Deere tractor with a brush similar to this that was configured for that tractor. The tractor is wider than the sidewalk, so it's a makeshift. So this, again, in the evolution of how we're clearing our streets and sidewalks, this would be the next step. And again, it's a lot cheaper than what we've seen. It's not experimental. Again, there's only one in Alaska, but it is serviced in Alaska, so that's the other piece with this company. If we go with this company, it could be serviced in Anchorage, so that's the other good thing about this one.
Yes, Councilwoman Berber.
Just a point of clarification, that $27,000, that includes all of the accessories, including this brine kit?
Yes.
Okay, that's great.
So if I may follow up on that.
Sure.
So depending on the weather, it's kind of a two-step piece. So the snow broom and the brine would be for when the weather's really above freezing. When it gets to be about 15 or lower, the brine doesn't work as well. So the next piece, which is the very last attachment, is the gravel salt that we can put down instead of a liquid form. So a broom and the brine, and then the snow blower and the I forget what it's called, drop spreader. So the drop spreader could drop actual rock salt. So it kind of goes in phases in how we see the snow accumulation, because once we get a film or a layer of packed snow, we can't get that up to the broom, but the snow blower then can knock off the snow, blow the snow out in that direction. So it's four attachments that we're looking at, and really I wouldn't go with anything less. There is a plow, but we can plow with our graders, and we can plow with a four-wheeler. So that attachment I didn't feel was necessary to pursue.
Any other questions of the city manager of that piece of equipment or anything else? Okay, alrighty, city clerk's report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have a written report, but I do want to remind the council of an upcoming event that will be occurring before our next meeting. And that is the Alaska Grown $5 Challenge Award Ceremony on January 23rd at 10:30 a.m. Angie or myself have heard from any of the council in response to that. So if you do want to attend, please let us know. At this time, currently, no one from the council is attending that. So besides that, we're just plugging away. I do want to let the council know that I have extended an offer and it was accepted to Kama Petty for the administrative assistant position. She starts on Tuesday, the 29th. We'll be working half days Tuesday through Friday. And we're all really excited. I think it's going to be great to join the team. And so I want to let you guys know that that has happened. And I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will not be attending that. I think I told you that already, so, and it's too bad it's right in the middle of the day. And then it's in Wasilla. I know. So, it was in Palmer last year, but nobody knew about it until we saw it afterwards in the paper. So, anyway, I'm glad they are extending a visitation from us for the event, because after all, we are Breadbasket of Alaska, right? So we should have it in Palmer. But anyway, any questions or comments to the city clerk regarding her report or anything else? Okay. And you have my written report, and then also the city manager has put on the table tonight a letter that has been written with my signature in support of the Alcohol and Marijuana Control Board, that they move forward instead of hostage situation. I think we have enough of those in our world without another one. So anyway, would appreciate your comments on the letter, and I've signed this one. I'll give that to the clerk.
So we're, sorry, Madam Mayor, may I ask?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So just so I understand, we are sending this out. You are sending this out. You're just asking the council for any feedback on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Has council got a chance to glance through it and read it, and is there any Councilman Fuller?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Could we also address this to our valley delegation to legislate on it?
Right.
I mean, that's also part of the problem, is there's a disconnect between interpretation and, you know, this could be fixed through legislation as well.
I think we probably should also send to the governor, since he has the control for the board. So, yeah, any other suggestions of where we should send this to? Okay. Alrighty, and Cindy, do you have a city attorney's report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for filling in. Okay, the next item on our agenda, oh, I'm sorry. I need to go back to my mayor's report, please. I was talking to the city manager about what we could do to assist if there are any citizens of Palmer that are on furlough. And so the one thing that we did talk about, and I guess MEA and many of the other ones are doing it, is to not charge any penalty and interest if they do fall behind in their water, sewer, and garbage bills. And so, is there any objection from the council regarding that? It doesn't take and forgive their payment, but
Right.
their payment, the lack of payment can add up, and there will not be, it'll just be the actual amount of the payment. Yes, Councilwoman Linda Combs.
Yes, and I'd like to know how we're going to get that word out. Are we going to put it out in social media? You know, because it does need to be, you know, people do need to know. For example, if anybody was to ask me, I'd say one of the first stops they should make is at the food bank and that sort of thing, because they're making special considerations there. But I learned about that through social media, so that would be an important, I mean, we need something posted out front, but I would definitely recommend we put it on our Facebook page at a minimum.
And then those of us can take and go ahead and share it. you know, so that we'll pass it out. And that would be a good idea too, I guess, maybe make a little thing on the counter there.
Madam
so when
Mayor?
they came in, whatever.
That's Cindy.
Oh, Cindy, go ahead.
This is Cindy. With regards to not imposing any sort of penalties or fines in relation to late payments, you have in process certain rules which are applied even-handedly across the board, and now you're suggesting that for a certain group of individuals, and I appreciate what's being done, but being a public body, I think this requires further consideration.
Cindy, it's my understanding that the city manager already has this power to adjust penalty and interest, and the reason that I'm under that impression is because in the past, when we have had people from the audience and citizenry that came forth regarding, especially one was on rentals, on some rentals that he had not been paying the sales tax on, and he came forth and the city manager had the authority of that to be able to work with him and adjust just the penalty and interest portion of that.
Madam Mayor, if I might, just because I suspect Mr. Gabby is fully familiar with this, I'd like to just touch base with him and then get back to you during the course of this call.
Sure, that'd be wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
This is Steve.
Uh-huh.
I was going to say, the other thing is, you know, if the manager goes ahead and, you know, deals with things as he sees fits, but just expect that we'll get a report back when things are all kind of done, just to keep us informed in the loop.
Sure. Okay. Does everybody understand what Steve said? Okay. Good point. Thank you, Councilman Carrington. Any other discussion or from the council members? Okay. Alrighty. So then that finally does do the last of my report. The next item on our agenda is audience participation. We invite anyone from the audience to come forth and address the council. 3 minutes if you're representing yourself, 5 minutes if you're representing a group. Audience participation now open.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council, for this opportunity. I've heard many people say good things about an event that occurred last week. Presentation by primarily Gail Penalosa, although there were 8 panelists that also sat up there and spoke, including the borough mayor, etc. I see some faces that people that were there, you know what happened. I wanted to draw your attention to the radiofreepalmer.org webpage. It's now on page 2. It's been pushed down a little bit, but you can get to it still. And there's a video of the event as well as the audio. So if you're riding in your car, you can listen to it. If you're able to watch it, I recommend it highly. There was one thing in that presentation that struck me to be very interesting. It was a suggestion that if you wanted to get a good feel for what it means to have a walkable community, a livable community, that perhaps the mayor and the council members would for a week forego the use of a car and walk around town. I know that it's been reported that the Anchorage mayor, after a conversation with Mr. Penalosa, has thought he would do that for a week. Of course, he's in Anchorage, and Anchorage is a big place, has some degree of mass transit, etc. But it's still, I think, a fascinating concept, and I bring that up because each day I probably walk 3 or 4 times across the tracks. I come from that side to this side and back. And while I would agree that for the most part the streets and many of the sidewalks are clean, I am every day reminded of how unclean that small area that crosses the tracks. And I look at the one side and I see the library and I see all of the coffee houses, et cetera, on this side. But I invite you to walk across there, back and forth. If you were going from town, you're going to the library, you're going to the museum, you're going over to the Borough Building. It's an interesting barrier, and I'm not sure that I would say it's the fault, if anything, of the people cleaning the snow and ice off there. But it even with the improvements that have been made, it's a terrible design. The sidewalk is only on one side, sort of partially. As soon as any snow comes down, et cetera, it's formidable. I mean, we're able to do it because we don't walk there. We cut across the grass, we cut here, we do that, et cetera. Walk in the middle of the street, waiting for traffic not to be there. But if I were to recommend one place in the center of town, lit by a flashing red light that would be cleaned, it would be that one. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your input. Anyone else from the audience who would like to come forth and address the council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Jerome Hertel with the Alaska State Fair, and I would just like to thank you for your support of the Alaska State Fair, and thank you for your support letter and our request to obtain our alcohol permit for the Alaska State Fair. And I would just like to make one comment, if I could, in reference to Councilmember Fuller's comment about our legislative delegation. We have contacted our legislative delegation, and we currently do have a bill that's been introduced to address that interpretation of the alcohol permit and creating a new license category for the Alaska State Fair. I believe it's Senate Bill 16, and we'll try and keep you abreast of what's happening with that also. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for calling our attention to that bill. We'll be sure that our clerk traces that bill for us. Thank you. Anyone else like to come and address the council?
Yeah, I think you said that.
Okay, with that, I will close audience participation. The next item on our agenda is a public hearing for ordinance 19-002, amending Palmer Municipal Code Section 17.89.060E and Section 17.89.080 relating to short-term rentals. Does the council want a staff report before we open the public hearing?
Do we have staff?
Pardon?
Yes.
Yes.
For this one.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So for ordinance 19-002, when the council addressed the ordinance as a whole, I believe it was me that pointed out a reference in section 17.89.060 that the reference was incorrect. That I was incorrect at that point. So what this does, this fixes it. So in the ordinance, where you see the line through, there's one administrative line through on page 23 of 52 that strikes out the R1 because that was what council decided and we didn't strike it then. But in on the next page 24 at the very top first paragraph where it says 17.72.060, and we made a specific amendment to change that from 050 to 060, but I was in error. So it's not really, we could have interpreted it as a Scrivener's error and the clerk could have changed it. However, when we go back in time 10 years from now and look and see what was changed, and we see that there's an amendment specifically to change this, and then we just change it on our own because we think it's a Scrivener's error. There's no record to show why we went back to 050. So this is an administrative action to fix what I screwed up way back when. So that's all this does. It fixes that error that specifically was amended at the table that night to take it back to the right reference.
Further questions of the staff before I open the public hearing? Okay, so with that, I will open the public hearing. Anyone is welcome to address the council, 3 minutes if you're representing yourself, 5 minutes if you're representing the group. And the testimony will be strictly on ordinance 19-002 at this time. Does the council have any objections to me closing the public hearing? I close the public hearing on ordinance number 19-002. What is the wishes of the council?
I'd move to approve, Madam Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve ordinance number 19-002. Discussion by the council amendments, Councilman Fuller?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to, being as we get a second schwack at this, make an amendment to keep R1 under conditional use and make the corrections to the municipal, or the section 17.72060 to 17.72050, but keep the R1 as a conditional use in this ordinance.
What page are you on, sir?
Basically, which one, 30, page 30, where we have it as R1 under type 1 is no, make that cup. And then where R1 is stricken, reintroduce it or put it back in.
Madam Mayor, may I address?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to address that. The only ordinance that you are considering tonight is page 23 and 24.
23 and 24.
The other is supplemental material to this ordinance to show you the history of what was approved. So the only thing that you are able to amend tonight is this cross-reference. And pretty much that's pretty much like saying you don't want to change the cross-reference. As to what you're addressing can be done, but it has to be in that sponsorship by code, and have a second
okay.
to refer it back to the planning commission for review, to provide a recommendation to the city council to make that amendment possible. But, so that would be the way that needs to be done.
Okay,
So-
and that's down the road.
You
That's
can
not
do that.
tonight?
You could do that tonight during your council comments
Yeah,
or
okay.
whatnot, but as to a formal amendment to the ordinance, that isn't appropriate for this ordinance that's before you.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments, amendments by the council? Light is still on, sir. Yeah, no problem. Okay, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll then for ordinance number 19-002?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember David Fuller.
Yes.
Councilmember Sabrina Combs.
Yes.
Councilmember Linda Combs. Yes. Councilmember Steve Carrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Julie Berberick.
Yes.
Mayor Edna DeVries.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. The next item on our agenda is new business. And the first order of new business is resolution 19-006, approving the alternate allocation method for distribution of the fiscal year 2019 Shared Fisheries Business Tax Program in FMA 14 Cook Inlet area. What is the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve resolution 19-006. Questions, comments, amendments by the council?
No, this is Steve.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I guess I was just curious if we received money in the past without this resolution. I understand this is an alternate form of it, but I'm just wondering if we've gotten money off of this before.
I'll let the city manager address it.
The last time we received these funds similar to this or like this was 2009.
Further questions, Councilman Carrington?
No, it's been a few years, I see. Okay.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from city council? Okay, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll then on resolution 19-006?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember David Fuller.
Yes.
Councilmember Sabrina Combs.
Yes.
Councilmember Linda Combs.
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Carrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Julie Berberick.
Yes.
Mayor Edna DeVries.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is resolution 19-007, identifying the city of Palmer's capital project priorities for state, federal, and other interested parties funding. What is the wishes of the council?
Move to approve, Madam Mayor.
Okay,
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve resolution number 19-007. Discussion by the council, amendments, questions to staff? Councilman Fuller?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just on number 6, the water tower, if we were to, say, purchase it right now, would we have access to it? Or would that be landlocked within several other parcels?
It's not on its own, through the mayor, it's not on its own parcel, so would be part of any purchase. I guess we could just
So then.
purchase the structure, but then we would likely have to move it. So this estimate was estimating to buy the property, it'd have to be subdivided before we could do that, but that would be part of the
So I
project.
mean, so that should kind of be, we should probably include that in the price.
When this estimate was provided years ago, we've given it a 10% boost, so it's gone from 70 to 100,000 now. That included the property, so that was just to buy the tower and how it sits. We could make the language, I imagine we could put the language that says acquire property with it, but
I mean, it just makes sense to acquire the property, then if we were to get it, what would be the maintenance fee on that annually? I mean, have you had an idea what, structurally, is it sound? I mean, we're kind of asking to get money to buy something, but do we know what we're buying?
the mayor, it's non-functional. To my knowledge, there's been no maintenance provided in probably a decade or 3 or 4. One thing, if the city did purchase it, we would look at, to make sure that the tower is painted, and the Palmer portion of it stays very visible. And then working with organizations to either do that or do it ourselves, but I would say probably $10,000 would cover the painting every 5 to 10 years, if not more than that. But as far as structural sound, that assessment hasn't been made.
Further questions?
I guess, so should we probably add that to that price?
Through the mayor, these aren't hard numbers. So,
Just,
again, it goes back to what, when this list was put together, they were ballpark so that we could apply for grants. If the number changes, if the legislature were to give us money, generally they ask us, okay, is your project in CAPSIS? Yes, it's in CAPSIS. Is that dollar figure still accurate? And then we need to update it if so. So we could change, all these numbers, it's just a matter of, okay, what do we think we need? And the only hard number on there, those 2 hard numbers, the wastewater treatment plant at 5 million is a hard number, and then the Cobb Road or Cobb Street project, that's a 90% engineering estimate, so that's a pretty hard figure. The rest are just, we'd like to have this money for $525,000 for the public safety building, and that's not a specific project. We know we need to use the roof. We know there's probably some more flooring we need to do. If somebody were to say, here's $500,000 for your public safety building, then of course we'd have to do the engineering and design up to 500 and whatever they give us. And if it goes more, then we provide that, or we stay well short of the grant. So these numbers, again, we can put whatever we want there. I looked at it as, this is either the whole project or matching. The city's gotta have some skin in the game. We're asking you to provide $100,000 and we'll provide whatever else it takes for that water tower. So that's kinda how I looked at this. But we could, again, these are whatever we want to send to our legislators, both at the state and federal level, because this list does go to our senators and congressmen in Washington DC to put on their desk for they're not earmarks anymore, but to craft legislation at the federal level that might filter down to include some of these projects. So again, any number that you all think is appropriate, and we don't want to scare people away either. I mean, we put $1 million for the water tower, we're not going to get it. So 100,000 I thought was, again, I just thought that was an appropriate number.
And I think it would, if you would put painting in there and you identified it as painting, the legislature would say that's a maintenance and operation cost. We do not, give grants for that. Grants are for the original purpose. So I think if you're clouding the issue there, not that there's going to be much of an issue probably this year anyway, but I think you're, muddying it up a little bit to put in operations and maintenance Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam. They're questions that we need to ask ourselves before we actually make the leap. So if the state says, here's $100,000 to buy your tower, and we start doing our research, and this is an example, not what's out there. We go out there, we see an oil stain under the tower, well, now we may wanna do an environmental assessment that may eat into this, and then pretty soon we run into issues with the property owner who doesn't wanna cut the boundary the way we want. He wants us to have 2 acres instead of the half acre. So this just gets our foot in the door with some cash, and then the due diligence is on us, on if we spend it or not. So those questions are good questions, but not for tonight so much. Unless you just don't wanna take on that project, and that would be
Right,
okay.
yeah. I mean, if there was a project on here that you preferred to remove, then I think probably that action would be appropriate for this evening, but. So, any further questions, comments? Councilman Carrington, you have any input?
No, not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty, there's nothing else then, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll regarding the adoption of resolution number 19007?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember David Fuller.
Yes.
Councilmember Sabrina Combs.
Yes.
Councilmember Linda Combs.
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Carrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Julie Berberich.
Yes.
Mayor Edna DeVries.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is action memorandum 19-010, selecting the Golden Heart Lifetime Achievement Award recipients. And you will see there that we have 4 nominees. So what is the wishes of the council? Councilwoman Linda Combs?
May I ask a question of the city clerk? I presume that your office is the one that received the nominations. Was there anything in writing from anyone? For example, I know that when I made a nomination 2-3 years ago, that I provided the council with a letter and my reasoning beyond, for nominating the individual that I nominated, and I just wondered if anybody had managed to do that.
I don't think we did we?
No, 2 were received verbally and 2 were received via an email, but not with an explanation of, reasoning behind. Just names were received.
Yeah, there was no quote justification. Do you prefer that?
These individuals are all, absolutely stellar individuals in our community. They don't need a justification. I don't think. It's just, I go back to the purpose of the award, having works, I didn't work extensively, but I did work with Councilman Best when he crafted this, and I go back to the spirit of it, I guess. So, but thank you for your information.
Councilwoman Linda Combs, as you know, under council comments, or even now, if you wanted to have the ordinance adjusted, that there would be, support for nominees, we could certainly do that.
Finding our way on this, I think.
Okay. I was just thinking that probably for our radio audience, I would go ahead and read the Palmer Municipal Code so they know exactly what we have here. Our Palmer Municipal Code 2.04.150 states, the purpose of the Golden Heart Lifetime Achievement Award is to honor a member of the Palmer community that has exhibited kindness, passion, and the unwavering pioneering spirit of Palmer. The council shall submit nominations on or before the second meeting in January and select a winner at the second meeting of January. The mayor shall present the award to the selected award winner the week of February 14th. Now, in the past, we, as you can see, the previous recipients there from 2014 when this was done, except for the year 2018, when there was only 1 nominee, and 2015 when there was no nominees. Every other one of the years, we've had multitude of recipients. And so even though the code sort of sounds like we would all vote and judge on one, I think we decided right from the time we were doing that as long as the people were, people that we recognized and met the qualifications that we as a council, we're not gonna sit here and judge citizen A from citizen B. So, just for that clarification also. So, any further discussion, amendments, suggestions by the council? Okay, Madam Clerk, I guess I should read into the record, I don't think I did that for the nominees for tonight. Okay, let me read into the record, the four that have been nominated is Howard Best, Richard Best with a T, Janet Kincaid, and Mary Jo Parks. Okay,
So we don't have a motion on the floor at this time, so a
Yeah,
motion is
I thought-
appropriate to,
did,
we
Oh,
jump
we
to
don't?
question.
okay,
Would
was,
be to,
okay, all right.
award all four members or nominees.
Okay, so whoever would make the motion to approve action memorandum 19-010, would you include that the four nominees will be honored?
I would move to approve that.
Okay,
Second.
okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve action memorandum 19-010, including the four nominees that I named. Discussion, amendments? Okay. Alrighty, Madam Clerk, would you take the roll and ask for the
Yes.
vote, please?
Councilmember David Fuller,
Yes.
Councilmember Sabrina Combs.
Yes.
Councilmember Linda Combs.
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Carrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Julie Berberick.
Yes.
Mayor Edna DeVries.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is record of items placed on the table. Madam Clerk?
We have two items placed on the table. It was a sidewalk snow removal equipment brochure and the fair liquor license support letter.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is audience participation. I will open audience participation. Anyone can come forth and address the council on any topic. 3 minutes if you're representing yourself, 5 minutes if you're representing a group. Okay, yeah, we haven't heard. Okay, let me go ahead and close the audience participation. Excuse me just a minute. Cindy, are you online? Were you able to get a hold of Mike?
Hi. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I was. And,
Okay.
and we looked quickly at the code. There is specific permission with regards to sales tax, but the same is not true with regards to utility fees.
Oh, okay, so that's the thing then. Okay, alrighty. So what are you recommending then, if it is the council's wishes to do that? Have they, have an item placed on the agenda on our next meeting?
That would be ideal, yeah.
Okay.
And then Michael and Nate can chat about this issue further.
Okay, okay. And the city manager's looking something up. He has a frown on his face, Cindy, you can't see.
Okay, well, the sales tax code is 3.16.083.
Okay, you wanna go ahead and read it? He has a code he'd like to have you review, please.
13.08.020 E. Monthly service fees for utility services shall be established by the city manager, subject to the approval of the city council.
The one thing I would raise, Mr. Manager, is that you have issued bonds which are secured by the revenue stream derived from the utilities.
Yes, go ahead, Cindy.
So if you are changing that revenue stream, my understanding, at least from the mayor's brief description, is it would be a deferral with regards to receipt of fees?
Yes, that's my understanding, that their bill would still accumulate, but if they didn't pay it timely, there would not be any penalty or interest added to that bill at the time when they did pay it. We're not forgiving the bill.
Right, you're not forgiving it so that it would be collected in the calendar year, of course, all dependent upon what the federal, yeah, right. Sorry. Can we just think about this and then get back to Nate tomorrow?
Sure. Is there any
Perfect.
objection from the council regarding that? No, we do. I think we do, as if what I'm gonna say is personal, I think it's shared by the council, is that we want to assist our citizens in whatever way we can, but we also want to do it fairly and lawfully.
Thank you, yep.
Okay, and so the council understands that Nate and Mike and the clerk will get together, and then if we do need to have something, it will come out, it won't be our next council meeting, cause that's a special one with,
Right.
with the, with the, with the bed. Yeah, so, it would be on the February 12th. And I guess, Cindy, would it be a stretch if someone came in that was furloughed and, was questioning their bill? Could the counter, the people at the counter, either have them talk to the city manager or tell them that the council is considering waiving, but it has not taken formal action?
I think the latter would be the better approach.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Okay, does the council have any objections to the people at the front saying that? No, okay. Alrighty, okay, well, great, thank you very much, and thanks for keeping us on track.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for your patience.
No problem. Alrighty, so council, now we're next to council member comments. Councilman Carrington, I'll go to you so I don't forget you out there.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to basically ask a research question which may affect Councilman Fuller's idea. From what my vague memory can recall on the short-term rentals, it seems like we tinkered with that a bit as it was coming to us, and I guess I'm curious to research how did it come to us from the P&Z. I guess my point is I'm not sure that it needs to go back to P&Z if it's actually, what they recommended. And so I guess I want to say, let's take a look at it, because it doesn't need to go to P&Z if it was something that we tweaked and now we want to retweak, to use technical terms.
If I remember correctly, I think the recommendation from the P&Z was different than the council. It was not?
That's what I thought.
Yeah, no, cause P&Z, I thought, said they wanted them to have conditional use. And we decided
Right.
not to.
That's correct.
Yeah, so so I think probably we should have P&Z then look at it again, because we are opposite. What was adopted was opposite of what P&Z recommended. But
Yeah, so I guess my point is let's research that and then take whatever appropriate action.
Sure, all right. We'll have the staff and the city clerk research that, and then they can give it to us in written form. Okay. But that's my recollection. I could easily be wrong. Okay, anything else, Councilman Carrington?
No, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, Councilwoman Burbrick, do you have any comments?
Sure. I was one of the people that did go to the Livable Communities presentation that the AARP brought to us, and I thought it was fantastic. I drink the Kool-Aid already, so perhaps there were other people that should have been there. So I encourage anybody who wasn't there to listen to the broadcast that Mike was talking about. And also, I'm very excited about this idea, because this is a step in that direction as far as the sidewalk snowplow goes. Thank you.
Councilwoman Linda Combs?
Sure. Talking about the water tower brought back all kinds of memories of when I first moved to Palmer. There were jars on the counter by the registers everywhere. I remember the first night of living here in Palmer, having a cheeseburger down at the Valley Hotel, and there was a jar there, and it was collecting money to paint the water tower. 32 years ago. So we could do that again, folks. Everybody was enthusiastic about it. I'm excited about the sidewalk thing as well, but before I forget, I will not be able to attend the meeting on February 12th. I would ask to be excused. I will be in Juneau, attending Commission on Aging meetings for that week, and representing this area for statewide decisions being made about our seniors. So that'll go to, I suppose, Livable Communities as well. But other than that, good meeting. Thank you.
Councilman Fuller?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it's the Garland Heart selections were great tonight, especially Mary Jo. I remember when she first started the Special Santa program and just watching it evolve. You know, I think this is the cherry on top for her, and it's really nice to see her getting this. And then the question I asked about the water tower going in that direction is just looking at, I'd hate to see us ask for money, get the money, and then turn around and find out we're getting a pig in a poke and it's something we really can't handle or don't want. That's the only reason I kinda asked that. You know, maybe we should kinda look at this stuff that we're asking for and what is really more involved. I mean, is it an EPA thing or is the thing gonna fall down the minute we purchase it? Just stuff like that. I mean, it's great to get the money, but to turn around and say, nope, we don't want it, it kinda sets a bad precedent. And then on the, what is it, I know Councilman Carrington touched on it, the short-term rentals. I'm looking to take another schwack at that again, so thank you very much.
Councilwoman Serena Combs?
I would second that we bring back the short-term rentals. I would take a schwack at it, I guess is the proper second. Third schwack. Anyway, Councilwoman Burbrick said the exact thing that I was going to say, that anyone that didn't go to the forum with local communities, please take a listen to it on Radio Free Palmer. It is really amazing, and it was just really great to see so many members of the community there listening and thinking of ways that we can move forward. I also had the opportunity to attend the Palmer Museum's Untold Stories this month, and it was just really good, and Sam did a really good job of organizing it, so it's a good fundraiser for the museum if you have a chance to go on the next one. That's it.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call the council's attention to, we will not be having a meeting next week because there is 5 Tuesdays in January, but we will have one at 6 p.m. on February 5th. That is a special meeting with the BED, the Board of Economic Development. So the people in the audience realize that we're not gonna wheel a bed in here and do something, you know. Okay, and with that, I will adjourn the meeting for January 22nd, 2019.